My husband humiliated me with a cruel, cheating joke about our baby at a family dinner while I was 6 months pregnant, so I took my revenge and left. I'm shaking as I type this. I've been holding this inside for weeks, and I'm finally ready to let it out. Maybe it's because I'm too angry to keep it in anymore. Maybe it's because my phone is blowing up with messages from people who were at that dinner, acting like they have no clue why I left. They act as if I just casually walked out for no reason while 6 months pregnant. So, here's the full story, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The first weird thing was how quiet he was when I told him I was pregnant. We had been trying for years. 2 miscarriages, 1 chemical pregnancy. I had cried in bathrooms, in the car, in grocery store aisles. We spent so much money on tracking apps, ovulation strips, and vitamins that made me nauseous. He was there for all of it, or at least physically there. I thought he wanted this too. He said he did. He would hold me when I cried after a failed test, saying things like, "We'll get there. We always do." So, when I finally saw those 2 pink lines, I was shaking. I was smiling so hard my face hurt. I waited a day to be sure, took 4 more tests, and even booked a blood test to confirm. When I told him, I swear to God, he just blinked. No smile, no hug, not even a really. He just said, "Okay." I laughed, thinking he was shocked. I said, "You're in shock, right?" He replied, "I just need time to process," and went back to scrolling on his phone. I remember the screen was on some Reddit thread about mechanical keyboards. I stared at it too long, trying to make sense of how that could be more interesting than what I had just told him. But I let it go. I told myself he was overwhelmed. People react strangely sometimes. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he just needed time. But time kept passing, and nothing changed. No questions about appointments, no touching my belly, no, "How are you feeling today?" If I brought up the baby, he would change the subject or go completely stone silent. It was so weird. I'm not even the type to be all gushy about pregnancy. I was sick, bloated, tired. I had backaches. I wasn't glowing. I was just surviving. It felt like he was watching me do it from across a glass wall. One night, I asked him directly, "Do you still want this?" He said, "I don't know what you want me to say." Then he walked out to go play his games. Not even mad, just done. I should have pushed harder right then, but I was so tired. Honestly, I kept thinking something was wrong with me. Like maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe he was just stressed. Maybe it was the pressure. I told my mom about it, and she said men don't always bond with the baby until it's born. I told my friend Elizabeth, and she said it was probably just anxiety. So I kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. Then came the dinner. Henley, his sister, invited us over for one of her family catch-to-up nights. She's one of those people who posts every meal like it's a food blog, and acts like she's the queen of hospitality. Her husband is whatever. The kids are loud but fine. His mom was there too, which was rare. She usually avoids drama, but she came that night, and I think now it was intentional. I wore a dress I hadn't worn in a while because it finally fit again. My bump was showing just enough to be cute. I curled my hair. I felt good. I thought maybe this would be the night Brandon would snap out of it, that seeing me happy and surrounded by family would make it real for him. I was stupid. I know that now. We arrived at the house and it was already awkward. Henley opened the door and said, "Wow, you're finally showing." I was starting to think it was a fake pregnancy or something. Then she laughed like it was a joke. I smiled and walked in. Brandon didn't say anything, not even a "don't say that." We sat down for small talk. Wine was poured, not for me, obviously. They talked about some trip they were planning next year. Henley said, "Guess you won't be able to come with a baby and all," Brandon replied, "or without, depending on how things go," and laughed. I looked at him, and he looked away. My hands were in my lap, pressing my fingers into my thighs to stay calm. Then we started talking about baby names. I hadn't told anyone the names I was considering, but I mentioned one I liked. Henley snorted and said, "That sounds like a stripper name." I said nothing. I looked at Brandon, waiting, and he didn't flinch. Then he said, and I swear to God this is exactly what he said, "We don't even know if it's mine. Ever heard of cheating in DNA tests?" His mom went pale. Henley burst out laughing. I froze. Then Henley, because she's truly evil, said, "That kid's doomed with her as a mother." I felt like I was watching a movie, like none of this could be happening in real life. I looked around. No one said a word. No one told them to stop. I put down my fork, pushed my chair back, stood up, and looked directly at him. I said, "You're right. This child doesn't deserve a father like you." Then I turned and walked out. No one followed me. No one said my name. I walked to the car, got in, and drove home. I haven't seen him since. That was 3 weeks ago. He texted once, saying I overreacted and that he was joking to lighten the mood. I didn't reply. His mom texted too, saying she was sorry things got tense and that family dinners can be stressful. She asked if I'd be open to clearing the air over lunch. I blocked her. My mom is furious. She said if she had been there, she would have flipped the whole damn table. She offered to come stay with me for a bit, and I think I might let her. But the thing is, I'm not sad, I'm angry. How dare he treat me like this? After everything, the years of trying, the loss, the pain, how dare he act like this baby is a burden, or worse, a weapon to use against me in front of his family? I'm carrying our child, and he humiliated me like it was a game. So no, I'm not sad. I'm done. I'm going to raise this baby without him. I'm going to build a life that doesn't include a man who jokes about DNA tests and sits silent while his sister attacks me. I don't care if that makes me a single mom, or whatever label people want to use. This baby will never have to wonder why their mom stayed with someone who treated her like she was disposable. And Brandon? He can sit with his little jokes and his silence and wonder why the room feels so empty now. I can't stop thinking about how quiet it got when I stood up, like they all knew deep down I was the only one willing to say what needed to be said. Now I'm making plans. I have an appointment next week to talk to someone about my options, legally, financially, everything. I don't want advice. I don't want give him a chance or he might change. I just needed to say it out loud. I'm not going back. If he ever wants to see me or this baby again, he'd better be ready to beg, because I'm not letting this go. Not this time. On first update, if you read my last post, you know what happened at the dinner. The one where Brandon humiliated me in front of his family while I was 6 months pregnant, where his sister laughed and said my kid was doomed, where he made that disgusting crack about the baby not being his. Yeah, that dinner. I left. I walked out and I meant it. I was done. I cut off contact, blocked his number, blocked his mom, blocked his demon sister, and moved in with my cousin Christy, who had a spare room, a mattress on the floor, and a working air fryer. I started figuring out what my next move was going to be. I was still pregnant, still tired, still alone, but it was weirdly peaceful. Then he showed up. Not right away, not even that week, but about 10 days later I started noticing weird stuff. One morning, I went out to the parking lot, and there was a box on the hood of my car. No note, just a box. Inside was a little pink onesie with a rainbow on it, still in the plastic, tags on, price marked down. It looked like it had been grabbed off a clearance rack last minute. I thought maybe it was from Christy's mom or someone at her church. Nope. The next day there was a folded piece of paper taped to the front door. It said, "I miss you, please talk to me." No name, but I recognized the handwriting. He used to scribble lists on the back of receipts and leave them on the counter. Same weird capital R. I didn't say anything. I let it sit. Then came the crib, a big box left right outside the apartment door. No note, just the box. It was one of those cribs that converts into a toddler bed, all grow with your child or whatever. I Googled the model number. It was expensive. Like, why are you dropping hundreds on furniture when you could have just not insulted our child's existence in front of a table full of people who laughed along with you? I dragged the box inside and left it unopened in the hallway. Christy raised her eyebrows but didn't say anything. I think she could tell I was holding back something nuclear. Then the worst part, he showed up in person. I had just gotten off a video call with my insurance rep, trying to figure out how to register my upcoming birth without listing him as the father. The whole thing is hellish, by the way. I was walking downstairs to throw out some trash, and there he was, standing awkwardly by the mailboxes, like he was waiting for a package. He was holding a paper bag with handles, some kind of stuffed animal poking out the top. I stopped walking. He looked up, saw me, and flinched. He said, "I just wanted to give you this and talk, if you're not too busy." Like I'm just casually waddling around at almost 7 months pregnant, with nothing better to do than humor the man who made a joke about cheating in DNA tests at a family dinner. I told him to leave. He said no, just 5 minutes, just to explain. I said no, again. Then he muttered under his breath, loud enough for me to hear, about how I was being dramatic and cold, and how he was trying to make things right. That's when I lost it. I walked right, ascended the stairs, grabbed the bag from his hand, and threw it in the trash bin next to us. I told him he doesn't get to rewrite what happened. He doesn't get to show up with overpriced furniture and toys and act like he didn't react badly. We're not going to pretend none of it happened. He said he was sorry, that he was scared, that he was overwhelmed, that he didn't mean it, that he thought I'd get over it. I asked him what exactly he thought I was going to get over, the part where he said maybe the baby wasn't his, or the part where he stayed silent while his sister called me a joke of a mother. He said it was a bad night, that everyone was drinking, that people say dumb things when they're nervous. I reminded him no one was drunk. It was a Tuesday. His sister served lemonade and sparkling water. His mom drove home after. There was no alcohol at all. He blinked like he forgot. He tried to touch my arm. I stepped back. Then, and this is where it flipped from pathetic to infuriating, he said, "I already told my mom we're working it out. She's expecting to come visit when the baby's born. I just thought we could keep this private for now, so it's not a whole thing." My jaw dropped. I said, "You told your family we're back together?" He nodded, like it was a normal thing, like that was the logical next step. I slapped him, not hard, not out of rage, more like pure disbelief, like my hand moved before my brain caught up. I turned around, walked back upstairs, slammed the door, locked it, and sat on the floor for 10 minutes, just blinking into space. It gets worse. A couple of days later, I got a call from Elizabeth. She said she ran into Henley. Yes, that Henley. Apparently, Henley started talking like nothing had happened, saying she was excited for the baby, that she was glad things were smoothing out, that she knew Brandon would come around eventually. So now I knew what the crib, the onesie, and the stuffed animal were about. It wasn't about me, it wasn't about the baby, it was about optics, about saving face, about making sure he still looked like the golden boy who got his act together and made it work with his baby mama. I was fuming. So, I did what I should have done the second that crib showed up. I dragged it back to his mother's house. Yes, I did. I strapped the box into Christy's car with bungee cords and drove it right over. No text, just knocked on the door and waited. His mom opened it, looked surprised, and said, "Oh, hi, you look well." I said, "Is Brandon here?" She said, "No, he's at work." I said, "Good." Then, and I'll never forget this, I pushed the box inside the doorway, walked in, and said, "Just returning the lie he sent me." She looked confused and asked, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your son told you we're working it out. We're not, and we won't be. If you show up at the hospital, my apartment, or anywhere near this child when she's born, I'll file a restraining order so fast it'll make your head spin," she said quietly, like she was trying not to escalate. "You're making this harder than it has to be." I laughed, actually let out a laugh, because that's the thing, right? Women like me are always making it harder, always overreacting, always too emotional or too angry when we don't let people get away with treating us like garbage. I walked out and slammed the door behind me. I haven't heard from him since, not directly anyway, but I know he's still trying to spin the story. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that he's telling people I had a hormonal breakdown and that he forgives me even though I lashed out. He's painting himself as the forgiving one, the mature one. I'm not even surprised anymore. It's just what he does, makes a mess, then plays the hero for cleaning it up. But I'm not cleaning it up for him. He can keep his crib, his stories, and his pretense that this baby was ever about him. The truth is, he never wanted to be a dad. Not really. He liked the idea of it, the role, the image. But the second it became real, the second it involved sacrifice or discomfort, or, God forbid, accountability, he folded. Now he's trying to glue the mask back on. But I've already seen his face. I'm getting closer to my due date now. I have a plan. I have support. Elizabeth is going to be with me when I go into labor. Christy has already packed a bag for the hospital. We're figuring it out. And second update. I said I was done with him after the crib stunt and the fake reconciliation lie, and I was. But what happened next? No one could have prepared me for that. My daughter was born in early spring. She came a little early but healthy, with wide eyes and a little wrinkle between her eyebrows like she was already suspicious of the world. Christy was with me in the delivery room. Elizabeth came the next morning with bagels and a balloon that said, "You did it, bitch." I didn't tell him. I didn't tell his sister. I didn't tell anyone from that side. I didn't put his name on the birth certificate. Some people said I was being harsh, that he had a right to know. But he gave up that right the second he turned my pregnancy into a punchline, the second he let his sister laugh in my face and said nothing, the second he decided to rewrite reality instead of apologizing. I wasn't playing games. I was protecting my kid. A few months went by. I was adjusting, not sleeping much, figuring things out one crisis at a time. Formula stains on every shirt I owned. I forgot what hot coffee tasted like. You know the deal. Then one night I got a message. Not from him, not from anyone I expected. It was from Carter, Brandon's best friend from a long time ago. They had drifted apart a couple of years before all this. I never knew why. They were inseparable for a while, then suddenly stopped talking. Brandon said Carter got weird and started blaming him for stuff. I didn't push, figured it was guy drama. So Carter messaged me out of nowhere, saying, "Hey, I heard what happened. I know it's none of my business, but there's something you should probably know. It might explain a lot." I stared at the screen for a good 10 minutes. I was tired, with the baby sleeping on my chest. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. I said, "Go ahead." Then he hit me with it. Apparently, back when Brandon was in his early 20s, he got someone pregnant. Not me, not an ex I knew about. Someone he dated for 6 months. They weren't serious. She got pregnant and told him. He freaked out, not just "I'm not ready" freaked out, but a full-on meltdown. He begged her not to have the baby, saying he wasn't cut out for it, that it would ruin his life. She ended up terminating. Brandon never got over it, not in a grief way, not like he was sad about losing a child, but like he felt betrayed that she made the decision without keeping him in control of it. According to Carter, he twisted the whole thing in his head, convincing himself pregnancy was a power trap, that women use babies to manipulate, that it's always about power. Ever since then, he's had this deep, messed-up resentment toward the idea of being a father, like it's some punishment waiting to happen. Carter said he noticed it when Brandon would make dark jokes about getting tied down or never trusting a positive test. He brushed it off at first, but then it got worse, more bitter, more mean. When I had my miscarriages, that side of him was hidden. He was supportive, or at least he looked like he was. But now that I think about it, he was more relieved than sad. I see it now, the way he changed the subject, how he never wanted to talk about trying again, how he'd flinch when I showed him baby stuff. He didn't want to be a dad, not even with me. I sat with that information for a while. It made me sick, not because I didn't believe it, but because it fit. It made too much sense. I know people have trauma, bad experiences, fears, whatever, but he never said a word, never gave me the chance to understand. He just let me take all the heat, let me think I was the problem, then humiliated me in front of a table full of people who'd rather laugh than help. So I decided to return the favor. I posted a photo, not a soft one, not a sweet one, not "look how happy I am" or "single mom life" or any of that curated crap. It was me and my baby sitting on the floor of the living room. She had just spit up on me. I hadn't washed my hair in 3 days. She was wearing a onesie that said, "Raised by wolves and thriving." My caption was simple. "You said she was a mistake, but she's the only thing I've never doubted." I knew he'd see it. How? Because his sister still follows Christy, and Christy reposted it. Henley watches everything Christy does like clockwork, and she can't resist sending screenshots to her brother. It's like a compulsion. I didn't tag him. I didn't need to. Less than an hour later, I got a message. He said the photo was unfair, that I was dragging him publicly, that I was alienating his daughter from him. His daughter. I laughed out loud. I wrote back, "You alienated yourself the second you made jokes about DNA tests in front of your entire family. What exactly are you trying to come back to? The baby you never wanted or the image you're trying to fix?" He left me on read. A few days later, a letter came in the mail. Yes, a handwritten letter, like we're in some period drama. It was from his mother. She said she was concerned, worried about the long-term emotional impact of denying a child access to her father. She said she knew Brandon had struggled but was trying, that children need both parents. I didn't respond. I folded the letter, stuck it inside a baby book I'm making. Not the cutesy kind, more like a memory archive. Real stuff, screenshots, letters, the truth. Because one day, my daughter will ask questions, and she deserves answers, not excuses. But here's where it gets good. I ran into Henley in public, at the store. I was in the baby aisle, she was buying soap or something. She saw me and tried to walk past like she didn't recognize me. I called out to her. She stopped, turned, gave a fake smile. I said, "Hey." She said, "Hey." Awkward silence. Then she said, "Kinda stiff, how's the baby?" I said, "She's great, thanks for asking." She started smiling, like when I sing off-key. Henley gave this weird half-laugh, then said, "You know Brandon's hurting, right?" I stared at her. She said, "He feels like you're punishing him." I said, "He's being punished with the truth." She said, "You don't have to be cruel." I said, "Neither did he." Then I walked away. I don't care if he's hurting. You don't get to treat people like garbage and then cry about the smell. You don't get to sabotage something beautiful and then beg to be part of it once it's convenient. You don't get to mock a pregnancy and then call yourself a father once the photos start circulating. He made his choice, and now he gets to live with it. I'm not trying to be the bigger person anymore. And final update, I didn't think I'd ever hear from him again. It wasn't something I thought about every day or expected to happen. He just disappeared. No calls, no texts, no asking about our daughter, no "how are you?" Nothing. Total silence. After a while, I got used to it. I stopped thinking about him completely, not out of anger, just because there was no reason to. He wasn't part of our life anymore. Then a letter showed up. Plain, envelope, no return address, just my name on it. I thought it was junk mail at first, but when I picked it up and looked at the handwriting, I recognized it. I hadn't seen it in 6 years, but I knew exactly who it was from. I opened it in the kitchen while my daughter was brushing her teeth, with laundry going in the background. I didn't expect much, but it still pissed me off. He said he'd been in therapy, that he was sorry, that he'd made a lot of mistakes and was trying to be better. He said he thought about our daughter all the time, that he knew he didn't have a right to anything, but if there was any way I'd let him see her, even from far away, he'd be grateful. I read it once, folded it up, and put it in a drawer we mostly use for pens that don't work and expired coupons. I didn't answer right away. I didn't even tell anyone, not Christy, not Elizabeth. I just sat with it for a while, not because I was confused, but because I wanted to think it through before reacting. After all these years, he suddenly wanted to show up again. I didn't believe the timing was random. It never is with people like him. They only come back when it starts to bother them. I wasn't thinking about doing this for him or for me or even for our daughter, really. I just thought maybe it's better if he sees what he walked away from. So I texted him from a number I don't use anymore, Saturday, 3 p.m., Lakeside Park bench by the Willow. You sit. You do not approach. You do not speak to her. 10 minutes, that's all. He replied an hour later, saying he'd be there and thanking me. I didn't respond. My daughter, I'll call her Jay, is 6 now. She's smart, curious, always asking questions, always jumping from one thought to the next. She still doesn't really ask about him. She knows she has a father somewhere, but it's not something that seems to weigh on her. She doesn't feel like she's missing anything. I told her we were going to the park but didn't say anything else. She grabbed her purple hoodie and asked if we could get ice cream after. That was it. When we got to the park, it was quiet, not a lot of people around. She ran ahead, like always, trying to balance on the edge of the path like it was a tightrope. I saw him before he saw us. He looked a little thinner, same haircut, same way of fidgeting with his hands when he's nervous. He was staring at the ground. When he looked up and saw her, he froze. She didn't even notice him, too busy looking at a ladybug on her sleeve and yelling for me to come see it. I walked up slowly, didn't get too close. He stood up, looked like he wanted to say something. I stopped a few feet away and told him quietly that this was his one chance and he needed to remember what he said all those years ago. I reminded him he was the one who said he didn't want her, that he said it wasn't his, that he made jokes in front of his family and watched them laugh while I sat there, pregnant with a child he was already rejecting. I told him I didn't care if he had changed, that it didn't matter what he felt now. He left, he stayed gone, and she grew up without him, and she's fine. He didn't argue, didn't say anything, just looked like he was trying not to fall apart. Jay ran back to me, holding a rock she said looked like a potato. She smiled, told me she wanted to keep it as a pet rock. I said, okay. She asked if we could get ice cream now. I said yes. We started walking away, and she waved at him without thinking, just a polite wave the way she does with strangers. I looked at him one last time and said, you've seen her. That's more than you earned. Don't contact us again. Then we left. He didn't follow. I don't know what he thought would happen. Maybe he thought seeing her would change something. Maybe he thought she'd recognize him somehow. Maybe he thought I would. But she didn't, and I didn't. He missed everything. 6 years of firsts, 6 years of scraped knees, birthday parties, bedtime stories, weird art projects, jokes that only make sense to her. 6 years of real life. He missed it all. Now he has to live with that. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't forgive him. I don't hate him either. There's just nothing left there. Not for me, not for her. He got exactly what he gave us, nothing. I didn't need to yell at him. I didn't need to cry. I didn't need to explain myself. I didn't need to prove anything. He saw her, and he saw that she's okay. Better than okay. She's happy, loved, full of her own ideas and her own world. And he's not part of it. He never will be. The only thing he gets to hold on to now is the image of her walking away. And honestly, that's enough for me. Edit for those asking, no, I'm not planning to tell my daughter who he was anytime soon. If she asks when she's older, I'll tell her the truth, but for now she's just a happy kid. And that's all she needs to be. Edit 2 for the people saying I should have let her talk to him. She didn't ask to. She's not missing anything. She has people who love her and who've been here the whole time. She's not lacking a father. She just never had one to begin with. There's a difference. Thanks to everyone who read all the way through. I didn't write any of this looking for advice or pity. I just needed to put it somewhere.